Hi guys, it's Nikki, creative Nicki's Homemade Crafts. Today I would like to teach you how to make this super duper cute octopus. It has 8 tentacles in 2 different colors and the head is another color. And as you can see, I also used black for the mouth and for the eyes. And furthermore, you need some polyfill for the inside right here. So because I made this octopus for premature babies that I'm going to hand in to the hospital for donation, you need to make sure that they're all cotton. So everything you use needs to be cotton, no plastic for the eyes or anything like that, just to make sure it's all safe. And the cotton is because they need to be able to wash it in very hot water, so that way it's safe for the babies to wash it. So I'm going to show you what I'm using. I'm using a 4mm hook, some scissors, a tapestry needle, some polyfill, which I don't have here right now, but you know what that is, and if you don't, you can look it up in the link in the description. I'm also using Knit Picks Dishy yarn, and this one is the color Blush, and I have here the same one for black. And then those ones are for the head specifically, so I'm making a girl version. And then for the tentacles, I'm going to use these 2 different colors, which is 24/7 cotton yarn from Line brand. So these are going to be the tentacles, okay? So obviously these ones are different colors, but I will have them listed in the link in the description where you can find the full pattern for this octopus. So we're going to start with the head, we're going to work our way down, and then we're going to make the tentacles. After that we'll make the eyes and the mouth, and you're all done. So let's get started. So as I said, I'm going to make a girl version, so we're going to start with the color Blush. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better what I'm doing. So just make sure you guys see everything. All right, so we're going to start with a magic ring. So what I do is I wrap it around, okay, with 2 fingers. I make an X, as you can see right there. I'm going to take my fingers out, and I'm going to pull my yarn through. Then I'm going to chain 1, and now we're going to do 8 single crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to close up the hole, just like that. And now we're going to use, we're not going to do a slip stitch, okay? We're going to now continue on. So what I like to do is I'm going to like to use a little piece of yarn as my as my little stitch marker, so I know where it ends. And now we're going to just continue on. So in the next round, so excuse me, in the next round we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch. All the way around until we meet at the stitch marker again. Okay, now we're going to continue to increase. So we're going to pull out the stitch marker. We're going to place it right here. Prefer to do it differently, but this is how I like to do it. Okay, now we're going to place 1 single crochet, and then the next one has 2 single crochets. And then repeat that sequence. So now again, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. And we're going to do that all the way around until we meet at the stitch mark again. All right, now we're going to do 1 single crochet, another single crochet in the next stitch, and now we're going to do 2 single crochets. So it is 1 single crochet, another single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now you're going to repeat that all the way around. All right, now we're going to increase again. We have 2 more rounds of increases, and then we're going to keep going with single crochets. Okay, so now we're going to do 1 single crochet, 2, 3. So it's 1 single crochet in 3 stitches, and now we're going to place 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So let me repeat that. 1 single crochet, another single crochet, another single crochet in 3 stitches. You see that? 1, 2, 3. And now 2 single crochets in the next stitch. You're going to repeat that all the way around. Okay, we're going to do 1 more round of increases. So now we're going to do it with 4 stitches. So 1, another one, another one, and another one. 4 single crochets, and I just have a loop here. Not sure where that came from. Oh, that happens. All right. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 2 in the same. Now we'll do that again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets. So in 1 in each stitch, and now we're going to do 2 in the next stitch. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 in the same stitch. You're going to do that all the way around. Okay, now we finished all the increasing rows, or rounds in this case, and now we're just going to keep on going and doing single crochets, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, and you doing that for 15 rounds. And then I will meet you back here. So I'm going to move my stitch marker. I'll show you a couple of stitches. So it's 1 single crochets. It's 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And each stitch is 1. And you're just going to keep on going until you have 15 rows of them. So you'll count from your stitch marker upwards, or actually downwards, because the stitch marker moves upwards. So in that way you can figure it out. Or you make yourself a little paper so you know how many times you moved your stitch marker. Alright, I'll meet you back here once we finished the 15 rows of just single crochets. Okay, so now that we did the 15 rows of just single crochet, we're now going to do the decreases. So it's going to look similar but not the same as this side, but we pretty much need to replicate it but doing decreases, whereas we did increases right here. Okay, so, and then at some point we also have to add the polyfill, right? So I'm going to move my little stitch marker, and now we're going to do the exact opposite we did over here, but instead of doing the increases, we're doing the decreases. Okay, so the last row we did, where we did an increase, was 4 single crochets in a row, which means 1 in each. And then we're going to do a decrease. Okay, so typically you're going to do through both loops. Right here there's a V, right? You're going to go through both. But because we're trying to hide it a little bit and not make big gaps, I want to just go through the front loop only. And we're doing that only for the actual part where we're doing a decrease, right? So pull one and then do another one, only through the front loop. See that? The back loop is still there. And now doing the decrease. And now we're going to repeat that sequence right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now decrease through the front loop only. And again. Okay, so now we're going to do the next one, again decreases, but instead of doing 4 single crochets in the beginning, we're going to do 3. So I'm going to move my stitch marker again. And now we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and now we're doing a decrease again in a front loop only. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, and decrease in a front loop only. 1, 2, 3, Okay, so now we're going to do another round of decreases, but this time instead of 3, it's going to be 2. Because we're decreasing, we have less and less stitches available, so we need to decrease our number as well. So 1, 2, make sure your tension is pretty tight. You don't want big gaps when you do these kind of pieces, because you don't want the polyfill to come over or come out of it. So again, decrease through front loop only. As you can see, it kind of blends in a little bit. You see, it's not so much a big gap when you have the decreases now. Okay, so 1, 2, and a decrease, front loop only. 1, 2, front loop only, and then you repeat that all the way around until you meet at the stitch marker again. Okay, so now, again, we're moving our stitch marker. Now we're going to do 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. All right. So now this is how our hole looks right now. Okay, so we're now going to do decreases. Okay, just decreases. So they're all going to be in the front loop only. And then about halfway through, I'm going to stop because I'm going to add some polyfill to it. And then we're going to keep going. Okay, so I don't want the hole to be too big because I'm going to have a hard time doing the decreases. So I want it a little bit smaller. So maybe I'll do like 3 or 4 decreases. So I did 2 decreases right now. 3. Let's do one more and then I'll add the polyfill. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm going to pull this a little bit so I'm not going to lose this. And of course make sure that your stitch marker doesn't slide in or slide out. Okay, so I think that's a good enough hole. And I have here my polyfill that I'm now stuffing in. Just do little bits at a time. I want to stuff it well, but not overstuff it so it stretches out too far. Because you don't want big giant gaps where the polyfill is visible from the outside, especially when you give this to little babies. You don't want them to see that or pull it out or put it in their mouth. I still have a little bit of a gap. Okay. Okay, I think it's just a tiny bit more. And then I should be okay. Okay, I think this should be okay. Should be good now. Still a little bit of a gap here, and that's good because you want to be able to squish it around. Okay, now we're going to finish up our decreases. So we counted 4. You can always double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 more decreases to do for this round. Again, I'm just going through the front loop only. Keep your tension tight so you don't have giant gaps. All right, so this is pretty good. All right, so I'm going to cut my yarn now and weave it all in and close that hole. So you're allowed to now pull out your stitch marker. You don't need it anymore. I'm going to make a knot. And I'll show you how I like to close my hole. I'm sure it's not how everyone does it, but that's how I'm doing it. And especially because we're adding some tentacles down here, it doesn't have to be super duper pretty. So don't worry about it too much. But I like to go through the back loop only when I do this. So I'm just kind of going around it here. We have 8 stitches. Okay, so I'm just going to go like this. Like every other one kind of thing. And And then pulling as I do this. See how the hole is kind of closing? Make sure the polyfill still's inside. And I should have one more over here. Excuse me. Okay, so this is pretty good. So if you see some gaps like this, like I have a couple here that I'm a little bit worried about, I kind of go and weave it through, because as I said, we're gonna do some tentacles over, so it doesn't have to be super duper pretty, okay? So I kind of like to weave it through. It kind of closes up some of these gaps that you don't want to show, especially when you want to give it to little babies. So that's just kind of how I like to do it. Now, of course, if you have this, make this for something where you don't have the tentacles there, you might not want to do it this way, because that way you might see your stitches. But for this particular piece, it doesn't matter. So do you see how my gaps are getting a little bit smaller? So I'm not just going under, I'm going kind of through those stitches to make them a little bit smaller. It doesn't actually look that bad, as you can tell. Pretty nice. I'm not thinking it looks that bad. Okay, I want to go over here one more time, so I'm kind of going through. I have enough yarn so I can get there. Also, it's kind of like weaving it in already, like weaving in your yarn. And I'll make a knot in a second, and then I'll show you how I'm hiding my yarn. Okay, couple more and I'm good. All right, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna make a little knot right here. Always make a double knot. Pull tight so you won't see it too much. And I'll do another one right here. Okay. So what I like to do is I weave one more little area through like this. And now I'm going to push it through, squeeze a little bit so it comes out somewhere over here. See, like this? Pull through. Now push this a little bit. And when I cut it now, right here, that disappears. And it's gone. So you won't even see it. And it actually looks pretty nice, don't you guys think? So doesn't look like very bad. So I really like this. So this is kind of how I do it, so it doesn't make giant gaps. And because sometimes that happens when you do decreases. All right, so now let me show you how I start with the tentacles right here. So we have 8 different ones, and you see I have 2 different colors. So if you look a little closer, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So I did the, I'm gonna move these aside for a second. I did the light ones first, and I did it like in a square, okay, so that the tentacles are on the corner. So I did one here, then I moved over, moved over, moved over. And then I added the darker color and did the same thing a little bit further inside, kind of on top of it if I absolutely had to, okay? So that's kind of how I did it. So of course there's other ways to doing it, but that's how I do it, and I'll show you exactly what that means, okay? So we're gonna start with this color right here. So as I said, I'm using 24/7 cotton yarn from Line Brand. If you want to know exactly which colors I used, go ahead and click on the link in the description. It's the very first link, okay? And that way you figure out what yarn I used. You have the entire pattern, everything together, and there's a PDF as well. So in case you want to download this, there's a link for that as well. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at my my piece here and see, okay, this is kind of where I want it to be. So I kind of see my yarn going around here, kind of here's my little knot, so I want to make sure I hide that part. So this is kind of where I want to make my square. So I'm going to pick one of these, just like that. Gonna make a knot. So I want this long enough so I can weave this in too. Okay, and now after I attached it like this, don't worry that this pulls a little bit because we're going to do 4 of these and then connect them in the end, okay? So it's not going to be a big deal. So we're going to do 60 of these. So 60 chains. So I have 2, 3, Okay, so now that you have 60 in total, yeah, I have a little piece right here. I want to get rid of that. Okay, so now you're gonna place 1. Let me make sure I have enough light here. All right, I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna do 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So this is like having 2 right here, okay? And now we're gonna place 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now you can tell that I'm going in the back bump. I want this to look like a smooth transition. So I don't go in any of the front or back loops, I'm doing in the back bump, which you can see right here, okay? Let me see if I can make this a little bit sharper. So it's this one right here. Okay, it's not any of these V's, or any of the loops from the V. So 2 single crochets in each chain. And then I'll show you how I connect it in the end over here and starting the next ones. So you want 4 with this color and 4 with the other color. Of course you can do it all in the same color, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit. Now this might take you a little bit. So I'm going to jump and show you how I'm going to come back over here and how I'm going to finish this long one up and go to the next one. So I'll meet you back right here in a second. Okay, so I did this very long tentacle right here. So now I'm just doing 1 more set here. So it might be a little tricky when you get a little closer here to the head, but don't give up. It's gonna look great in the end. All right, so I said I'm gonna make it into a little, let me see if I can show you a little bit better. Let me use my scissors. So we have here 1, here, here, and here. So that's kind of how I want to make it. So I'm going to now jump over here so it's all equal. So I'm going to just pick up right here. And I'm going to make a slip stitch. And see, it's much tighter now already. And now you're going to just repeat this. Make 60 of these again. Do this again, and then you do this 2 more times, and I'll meet you back here after we finished 4 of these when we're switching colors. So I'll show you exactly how I switch to colors, and then after that we're going to add the face and you're all done. Okay, I'll meet you back here when we did 4 of these in total. Okay, so now that we finished those 4 tentacles, you can see it's similar to a square. I finished my last stitch right here, and now what I'm doing is I'm going to slip stitch to the very first one so that I'm finishing up my square. Okay, now I'm gonna do a slip knot. All right, I like to kind of tie these off, the first and the last, just like that. Just doing several knots just to make sure. It is very tight or very close to the edge here, so you shouldn't be seeing those, especially when this is kind of hanging over. So I'm gonna leave those over here for right now. Okay, so just let them hang there because I'm gonna weave them in later. And then you're gonna start with your other color. In my case, this is red. Slip knot right there. Okay, and then I'm gonna just go inside here and frame it from the inside. So that means I'm gonna do another square over here, okay? So it can be the same stitch. You can also use one of these, whatever you prefer, because you're not gonna see it in the end where exactly you stitched it to. So I'm just gonna pick one that is tight, not super loose. Right here, I like this one. This is pretty tight. Okay. I'm gonna make my knot a little bit smaller. Okay, just pull through. And now you're gonna repeat the same process again and making 60 chains and working your way backwards just like I just taught you, and you're doing that 4 times with this color, and then I'll meet you back here how to weave it in and then start with the face, and then you're all done. All right, see you in a sec. Okay, so now I finished this. As you can see, I added the additional tentacles, so we have 8 now, and I already slip stitched it to the first stitch. I'm gonna make a couple knots here to make sure it's all safe and it won't come out, and then we're gonna weave it in. I'll show you how I do this. Of course, you can do it totally different your way. This is just the way I do it. Okay, so I kind of go in between here through the red stuff. I'm gonna go around in circles. As I already knotted it, I'm okay with that. And then I'm gonna do something similar that I did earlier. So I'm gonna push it through like this, and then cut it so it disappears. So I'll do that with the other ones as well. And then we're gonna start with the face. So where am I? Okay. All right, so now you want to go through a tight area so it really doesn't come undone. All right, 2 more, and then we'll start with the face. All right, so one more. All right. Perfect. Okay, so now they're all weaved in. how it looks like right now. Let me kind of zoom out just a hint. All right. So now we're going to work on the face. So I'm going to use this black yarn from Knit Picks Dishy. So I'm going to first make a couple eyes. We're going to use our hook again. Let me put this aside. So we're going to do it exactly the same way as we did the very first round. So we're going to chain 1 in the magic ring. See, you need a little bit brighter. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do 8 single crochets into the center. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to pull it closed, very tight, and we'll slip stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the first one. It's always a little tricky. There we go, almost. I only caught one. Come on. There we go. Okay. Having it tight is actually a pretty good thing here. Okay, so now cut the yarn. Make a knot. Okay. Then you need to weave in the middle part. I know it's black, you might have a hard time seeing what I'm doing right now, but the yarn that you pulled to make this the whole close, I'm just weaving this in here so I can cut it. I'm doing that from the back. Okay. Just doing a little bit of it. It's not too much of a big deal. Okay. We have the first eye done. Now we're going to do one more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Close it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Slip stitch, and then make a knot. Weave in the back, and then we're going to attach it, and then we're all done. Just have to add the mouth. I did want to mention real quick while you're listening that I looked at the time how long it took me to make one tentacle, and it's roughly 6 minutes. So that should help you figure out how long you're going to take for all these. All right. Okay, so as you can see here, we're just going to add these, whoopsie, right here, right there, make them equal to each other. And because this is a girl, I'm going to add 3 eyelashes to it. Okay, so let me see if I can zoom a little bit so you can see what I'm about to tell you. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it, so let me see. So it has here 1, 2 loops, right, for the V. I'm gonna use the back one to sew it on, so I'm gonna leave the front one alone, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do. So it's roughly here. I'll find a good spot that I like. Yeah, I like this one. So roughly about here. So I'm gonna hold this, and then I'm going to go through the back loop, and I would go through the back loop first, like this, okay, and then pick one that's kind of underneath, You see that this yarn is kind of underneath? So you don't want it to show. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I mean, of course there's other ways to doing it. A lot of other people do it differently. That's just the way how I'm doing it for this one particularly. Doesn't have to be super duper perfect because the yarn is kind of hidden underneath. At least that's the way I'm doing it. Okay, one more, I believe. Double check. No, I have one more right here. Okay. All right. So, okay. So now that we're need to add the eyebrows. I'm gonna go from here a little bit further away. Let's see, maybe one more right here. Okay, I'm going to go through, then move over just a hint. Doing 3 of those, and one more. There we go. So, that's the first one for the girl. So, now I'd just like to make a little knot. Get as tight as possible, but make sure your eyebrows are not moved too much. Alright. Okay, one more knot. Okay, and now just go through and do the same thing as we always do. Just pull that this direction. And cut. So, first eye done. Now we're going to add the other one. And for the other one, I have a little bit of longer yarn, so I can add the mouth to it using this yarn. Okay, so so this is the outside, so I'm going to add it right next to it, just like that. I'm doing the same thing as we did before. Going to go through the back loop and kind of hidden underneath. Right. You guys seeing that? Yes. I'll make sure, because I move a little bit, I want to make sure I stay in the picture frame of the video camera. All right. Okay, one more. Okay, so that's roughly the same. Okay, now we're going to go and make these eyelashes again. So that's going to be a little tricky sometimes, so you kind of have to see. So where I went about 1, 2, 3 over and 2 higher, so roughly about here. Okay, we'll check. Yeah, it's roughly about the same. Got a little bit looser. Okay. And now the next one, which is a little bit over. Oops. And one over. That looks about the same. Come on. There we go. Yeah, that's about the same. Roughly. Not exactly. But that's okay. Pull here a little bit. Yeah, it looks great. Very cute. Okay. I'm gonna make my little knot right here, hidden away. Don't pull too tight, otherwise you're gonna pull right here. Okay. All right, so now we have the girl eyes done. Now we need to do the mouth right there. So I'm gonna go through. And now I kind of have to make myself a little line, so I want it right here. So I'm gonna come out over here. Okay. So on this one I went 2 times around, so just to make sure it looks pretty. Okay. Okay. All right, I think that's pretty good for girl mouth. So now I'm just gonna make a small little knot. I don't want it too big because then you can see it. I'm trying to prevent that. Yeah, that's pretty good. And now I do what I always do. Just push it through like that so it can disappear into the polyfill. All right, and that's it. You finished your girl version. Let me zoom it out so you can see a bit better. Move my stuff aside. So we have a boy and a girl. And now you're ready. And now you can make a lot of them. Now you know exactly how to do these and help little girls and boys when they're premature to snuggle with a little octopus. So be sure to make sure you're not using any plastic or anything, as I mentioned earlier. And I hope you like this pattern, and I hope it was easy enough to follow. Be sure to like, comment, and share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.